Hello, Julie here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be making 3 cards using the Holly Jolly Christmas papers from Uniquely Creative that I got in my Mystical Scrapbooks November Design Team kit. I'm making 1 bridge card, 1 shaker card and 1 layered card. Okay, so let's start with the bridge card. For my card base I'm using the Holtz Kraft core in the red. I'm going to cut that to 4 1/4 inches by 8 inches and I'm going to score 1 1/4 and 2 1/2 inches from each edge on the 8-inch edge. I'm going to cut some white cardstock now to mat the inside of the card. So I'm going to cut one piece that's 4 inches by 2 3/4 inches and then 4 pieces that are 4 inches by 1 inch. I ran these cardstock pieces through my big shot with the Kraft diamond tiles embossing folder to give the interior of my card a bit of dimension. Now I'm going to use my art glitter glue to attach those 5 pieces of white embossed cardstock to my card base, leaving an even border all the way around each piece. I used a Santa, a reindeer and Christmas, the word Christmas, from my Uniquely Creative Cuts pack to embellish this card. I don't like the white border around the Creative Cuts, so I have fussy cut around the Santa and the deer to make sure that all that white has gone. I then cut a strip of the same red cardstock that I used for the base, 5 1/2 inches by 1 3/4 inches to create the bridge for the card. I used my art glitter glue to attach that strip to the 2 front panels, about half an inch up from the bottom. So now it's time to add my embellishments to that strip. I'm going to add the 2 fussy cut elements from my Creative Cuts pack, being careful to only put glue on the part that actually sits on top of the white front panel, and then I'm going to attach the Christmas over the top of those embellishments. I had a pad of Christmas papers that were on Kraft and you can see them just there to the left. I cut the word Merry out of that and then attached that to my card strip just above the Christmas on a bit of an angle. I used the same art glitter glue to do all of the sticking on this card. To create a place to put my personal greeting, I cut a piece of white cardstock that is 2 1/2 inches wide by 3 3/4 inches tall and attach that to the back centre section of the card. So that completes our bridge card. Our next card has multiple layers and distressing, also some embossing. I cut my card base 6 inches by 8 inches and folded that in half to create a 4 inch by 6 inch card base. I'm using the Holly Jolly Christmas from Uniquely Creative. This is the 6x6 collection pack And I'm going to choose two papers from this. I choose a green and a red. So the green is a check and the red has got a white spot on it. I wanted to layer these pattern papers with some gold cardstock as well. So I've got some gold mirror card. I'm going to cut one piece of the gold 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. I'm going to cut the green 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. Then another piece of gold that's 3 1/4 by 5 1/4, and the red spot is going to be 3 inches by 5 inches. These are going to be layered on top of each other so they get 1/4 inch smaller as they come up. I'm also going to cut a piece of white cardstock that's 2 3/4 inches by 4 1/2 inches, and I'm going to use an embossing folder to emboss that. You can't see it very well in the film here, but the embossing is of a Christmas tree. I'm going to take my Prima distressing tool and I'm going to distress the edges of all of these layers. The white piece that has the embossing on it is going to have the edges inked with a gold ink pad, but the other edges are not going to be inked at all. So there we have all the distressing done, and I'm now going to attach these to my card base, starting from the biggest piece and working up to the white embossed piece. I centre each layer on top of the previous layer so that they've got an even border all the way around. I have put a piece of chipboard behind the white panel to lift it up from the front of the card a bit. I use my uniquely creative clear glitter pen to go over the top of the embossed Christmas tree just to help it stand out a little bit from the background. I'm going to use my gold stickles to add a few dots down the centre of the tree and to colour the star at the top of the tree. The greeting for the card comes from the uniquely creative Once Upon a Christmas mini cut aparts. It says Merry Christmas. I have cut that out and then attached it to some gold cardstock, trimmed that down, added a piece of chipboard to the back of it, and then I'm using glue to attach that to the front bottom section of my card. That completes our second card. We're going to move on to the shaker card now. To create my card base for this card, I'm making a 4 3/4 inch square card, so I cut it 4 3/4 by 9 1/2 and scored it at the 4 3/4 inch mark. The shaker element is made up from a piece of white cardstock cut with this Lifestyle Crafts nested lace circles, and that circle is 3 1/2 inches in diameter. Then I used my Spellbinders circle, one's called Spellbinders Standard Circle Large and one's Standard Circle Small, and I cut a ring, so just a hollow ring to actually give me the depth for my shaker panel. They are 3 inch outer and 2 1/2 inch inner, and I cut a piece of acetate that is 3 inches in diameter as well. I cut 3 of those circle rings out of chipboard and 1 out of white cardstock, and I'm going to use my art glitter glue to layer them on top of each other, trying to make sure that they're as neat as possible. I also use the art glitter glue to attach the acetate to the back of the scallop circle, trying to be as careful as possible that I don't get glue onto the acetate. The multi-layer ring now is attached to the back of the scallop circle, so sitting on top of the acetate. Once again, I'm trying to be very careful not to get glue onto the acetate, but I find that if I do get a bit of glue on there, I can use a baby wipe and wipe the glue off and then wipe over the same area with a tissue and it will clean off. I'm going to use these 28 Lilac Lane sequins in a colour called Velvet, and I'm going to about half fill my shaker panel or my shaker cup. To contain my sequins in my shaker embellishment, I cut a piece of white cardstock, about 3-inch circle, using the same die that I used for the rings, so the outside size, and I'm going to attach that to the back so that those sequins don't have the opportunity to escape. I used my memory box snowflake ornament and some gold cardstock to create an embellishment to put on top of my shaker element. Before I attach my ornament to my shaker, I want to attach a piece of this metallic string so that it looks like my bauble is hanging from something. I attached that with a piece of double-sided tape, and then once I had it in the position I wanted, I folded it over to the back of the shaker panel and attached it at the back with a bit of double-sided tape. Then I used my glue to attach my bauble so that it appeared that the string was coming out through the top of the bauble. Now that my shaker element's complete, I go back to my paper pack and I select a pattern paper. I cut the pattern paper down to 4 1/4 inches square, and I cut a piece of the mirror gold cardstock to 4 1/2 inches square, and I layer the pattern paper on top of the gold and then on top of the card base. My bauble is attached to the front of my card up towards the top so that I can fit my greeting underneath it, and I use my art glittered glue to attach that. The greeting once again comes from the Once Upon a Christmas mini cut apart sheet, and I mounted that on a piece of gold cardstock like I did for the previous card, and this time I added some chipboard to the back of that before I used my art glitter glue to attach that to my card front. So that finalises our 3 cards for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching my video. I've certainly enjoyed creating these cards. I think they've got a nice festive feel to them. Over at Mystical Scrapbooks you can see there is a challenge this month. There's 2 challenges actually. One is to create a set of 3 cards. One must be a shaker. The other is to create a Christmas card and include some fussy cutting. I would also like to remind you that if you're not already a subscriber, I would love it if you would click that little subscribe button. Thank you.